Hello, boyos. Welcome to the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 discussion, review, rating via your favorite two boys, the Loner Cast. My name is Nick. To my left, I don't know about you guys, but he's to my left. To my left is Jake. How are you doing, Jake?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic.
Doing fantastic.
Fantastic.
Nice.
Just living life. We just did a podcast. It was fantastic.
All right. Yeah, we just did a podcast, and I don't know why I asked you how you're doing, because we've literally been talking for about an hour, so I've already known. And let's jump right into it. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This is our discussion. I'm gonna pass it over to you. What do you think of this movie?
You know what? Let me just tell you right now. I'll tell you straight. I'll give it to you straight, Nick. I fucking love this movie, dude. I really, really like this movie. And I saw it again. So we saw it together on Friday, and it is now Sunday. So I saw it again on Saturday. And there's just so much going on in this movie, which I think if it were a lesser writer-director, it would have felt like too much.
Too much, and not, it would have been a much faster. A lot of things wouldn't have gotten covered that needed to be covered.
But there's just this, James Gunn just has this way of making you believe in the characters and really love these characters, and even newer characters. You really get it. For example, and we're in spoilers here, so we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, it's spoiler territory. If you haven't seen the movie, you might want to go watch it and then come back to this video.
Yeah.
Just join the discussion.
Or you can just get spoiled.
Or you can get spoiled if you enjoy that too. I know Jake likes to get spoiled.
Yeah, I'm all about it. But for example, to make a little bit of a comparison between this movie and Ant-Man, the new one. In Ant-Man, we got...
Is there really a comparison?
Well, you'll see. We got MODOK, right? We got MODOK. And then MODOK has this transformation where he's like, I'm a good guy now, and I'm going to help you save everybody. But it felt so out of nowhere. All she said to him was, don't be a dick. And he's like, you're right, I shouldn't be a dick. But in this one, we have Adam Warlock, who goes through a similar sort of thing. And it was so simple how he did it. But that's all it takes, is something so simple for them to be like, he's like, why did you save me? And he's like, everyone deserves a second chance. And he's like, fuck. Yeah. And they also played the role hey, Adam Warlock is like a baby. He doesn't understand things. So it made sense when he turned and saves Peter at the end. You're like, that makes sense. But when fucking MODOK saves them, it makes no fucking sense. You're like, why? Why? So James Gunn just has this way of just doing very simple, subtle things,
explanations for simple things
to make you care about these characters. And it's always something so simple,
I agree. I loved Adam Warlock's character in this. I like MODOK's character in Ant-Man just because
he's
the
funny.
Character of MODOK is kind of stupid. In general, and they do kind of make him stupid. And in Ant-Man, it's like, okay, yeah, but then he's got that change of heart that makes zero to no sense. And it was like, whatever. It's just a stupid movie. And that's what it was. But this was this movie had so much fucking heart. You could feel every decision and any emotion that is in the movie, you feel that emotion and it means something to you in the moment. There were times in this movie I was holding back tears, just oh shit, man, nobody can see how much of a bitch I am, in the movie theater. We're in a packed movie theater and I'm and I'm not a huge Guardians of the Galaxy fan. The first one was really good. I really enjoyed the first one. The second one, I didn't really care a whole lot. And this one is man, even some of the characters who I feel shouldn't have been buds, you feel that they were buds.
Can you give me examples? Who are you thinking?
Well, I'm thinking Rocket and Nebula.
Yeah.
Like,
but when you think about it, it makes sense.
I've never really thought that they would be buds, or even Nebula with anybody, really. I always thought Nebula was the cold one. But like in this movie, it's like she literally cares about everybody in this movie.
When she starts crying, when she finds out Rocket is alive, you're like, damn.
Actually because made it through.
Then you think about it and you're like, during Infinity War, from Infinity War to Endgame, it was just the two of them.
It was just the two of them. Yeah.
So like they probably really bonded. And there's a little scene, I don't know if you caught it, where he says to the Guardians, where they're like all running one direction and him and Nebula go the other way. He goes, me and Nebs are gonna go this way. And I'm like, Nebs, they're besties, dude.
I didn't catch
and
that.
At one point she calls Mantis Mant, and I'm like, these guys are like best friends, you know? And like and they've done that over the 3 movies like so beautifully, where like the first one they're kind of like conflicted, the second one they're like really starting to bond, and like they have a little bit of conflict, but then in this one you're like, oh, these guys are they're family.
Yeah, so that really surprised me. And like we don't get to see the bond that they make, but you can see it, the creation of the bond. Like you can see there has been time past and stuff that has happened off screen that
they have gone on some adventures for sure.
Yeah, and it makes sense. Like you feel the connection, and it's hard. It's very hard to do something like that. Just in general, even showing it, like giving characters a good relationship by showing it, because a lot of times it's like, I don't believe their relationship, but this is like they didn't even need to show you how they got to this point in the relationship, and you can still feel that they're actually, you know, family, best buds. And I thought that's incredibly impressive to me.
Yeah, and I think that goes out to for a couple reasons. For one, we got like the setup over the past, I want to say 2 movies, but it's actually been like 4 movies, because, you know, we got Endgame and Infinity War, which I think also expanded upon that. I would say Infinity War is almost like a Guardians of the Galaxy movie in and of itself, because they're like a huge part of that movie. But so like we've seen them kind of bond, and then we also had like the holiday special, which I think expanded upon Nowhere a little bit. But then on top of that, I think it also goes to the director for being able to direct his actors, and the actors for just giving incredible performances. I don't think there was a single bad performance in this movie.
No.
And I've noticed that with James Gunn movies. For one, in interviews, you can just tell all the actors really like him. They're like, he's a good dude. I would hate to say that, and then one day something comes out about him. But anyway, for now, I'm going to say people seem to like him a lot. And
meet your heroes.
Yeah, for sure. And every time, you know, he has a movie come out, every performance is good. It doesn't matter what movie it is. He did a movie with fucking Rainn Wilson, right? The guy who played Dwight, called Super. It's one of the best performances I've seen out of an actor, and it's fucking Rainn Wilson, you know, like comedic actor Rainn Wilson, and he's phenomenal in that movie. And I think everyone in this movie is great. All the way from the weird gold lady who dies to Chris Pratt. I think everybody was phenomenal in this movie.
Yeah, Chris Pratt really surprised me, because in not Guardians, Thor: Love and Thunder, his performance in that felt so phoned in. You know, it was just like, oh, come on, dude. Like he's really bad right now. Like he does not give 2 shits about this. And I'm like, this does not bode well for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. But, you know, he fucking proved me wrong on that. So I'm not upset.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad that so originally so you know, I don't know if you know about the turmoil. I'm sure you do. With James Gunn, where he got fired for a minute from Guardians because there were some like tweets that came out where he was being creepy, making rape jokes or whatever about children. But he's like, hey, because back in the day, James Gunn made really edgy fucking horror movies where it was just like blood, guts, child rape, like very intense shit. And his whole style was just being a provocateur. Like that was his thing.
Yeah. He just wanted to raise some questions,
shock people. And there was also just like a time on the internet where people were just saying shocking shit just to be shocking.
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
But Disney saw it. It got kind of outed, and everyone was like, "Oh, that's gross." And then he got fired, and then there was like a huge backlash, and everyone's like, "Hey, he's kind of denounced that shit a long time ago, and like, why are you firing him?" And in the meantime, while that happened, DC picked him up. He made the Suicide Squad, and Disney was like, "Fuck, we fucked up." So they got him back to make Guardians of the Galaxy. So originally, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, all that to say this, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was supposed to come out before Thor: Love and Thunder. But because of all that drama with James Gunn, it came out afterwards. But I'm glad James Gunn didn't have to deal with the Thor in the room. You know, like, what would James Gunn have done with Thor? And I think he said in an interview, he's like, I wouldn't have done anything. I would have just pretended that never happened.
It didn't happen. Yeah. That would be the best way to do it.
Or they would have maybe just made a brief mention to it, or maybe like a funny thing at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, yeah, what would you do?
Yeah, I kind of feel bad for Taika Waititi having to deal with the Guardians, right? Like,
yeah,
I'm sure at the beginning of the movie he's like, "Fuck, what do I do with these guys?" You know, like it's a funny way to end Endgame, but like at the same time, it's like these characters. You can't do a whole movie with these characters together.
You can, but you have to do the whole movie with the characters.
Yeah, right. And I think both of them were like, no, I just want to do a Thor movie, or I just want to do a Guardians movie. So, yeah. So I'm glad he didn't have to deal with that. And there are some things where like you can tell James Gunn was like, fuck, I have to deal with this now. Like the Gamora thing. I think he handled it pretty well, all things considered. But you could tell that wasn't originally his intention with this third movie, was to have Gamora. Yeah. I think the way they handled it was great. To have it be like they don't end up together, that's phenomenal. I love that. If they ended up together, that would have been so cheesy.
Yeah, I agree.
So them going their separate ways is a good idea. Having everybody live too, it's almost like this.
That was a choice.
It's like that in and of itself is like a subversion of expectations, because it's the final one. You expect someone, probably either Rocket or Peter
Drax, because everybody was like, yeah, it's he's not doing another movie. Drax is over with this. So Drax was one of those ones that's like, he could be dying.
Yep. Well, they did a great job of being like, these people are still alive, but it would make sense if we never saw them again in a movie.
Yeah,
because they're all off doing their own thing now. The only one who doesn't make sense that we'd never see again is Star-Lord. Just because the ending says he will return. So
that's true. But maybe not in the theaters. He might not return in the theaters.
That's my guess. He's gonna get a Disney Plus show.
Disney show.
Yeah, that's my guess. Which that's a good idea.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm over Chris Pratt though. Just
me
general.
Me too. But actually, after seeing this movie, I'm like, I like him as Star-Lord. I do. Like I like him as Star-Lord. That was his first big thing, and I'm like, I like him. I don't hate him as Star-Lord. I hate him as a human.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't done anything like outrageous. It's just like
terrible. He just seems like a douche.
He just seems He just seems like a douche.
Yeah, no, and
whatever.
I mean, it's easy for me to say like, oh, fuck Chris Pratt, but also you got to separate the art from the artist.
Yeah,
and I'm one of those that believe that. Like, yeah, they're terrible people, but also they're good at that one thing. Like, you can't just deny that they made that thing because of who they are. It's like, no, they made this thing and you like it. You're right. It's a good thing that they made. They're a shitty person and you don't respect them, but also I do enjoy the work of, Chris Pratt in, Parks and Recreation,
yeah. And I think there can be limits on that, like separate the art from the artist. Like if someone's going out, if like OJ Simpson is announced to be in like the next MCU movie, it's like, okay, I get it. Like maybe don't see that one. But I don't know. There's nothing really that's come out against Chris Pratt. I don't want to defend him anymore. Let's move on. Okay. I don't like him. I want to make that clear. It's just like I like him as Star-Lord. He was good in this movie. I've liked him in all three of these movies. He was kind of wonky in Thor: Love and Thunder, but like, to be fair, that entire movie is kind of wonky. So
true.
I don't know. I just I can't praise James Gunn enough, though. He just does things in these movies, and I don't know if he's just a big enough director that he can go to Kevin Feige and say, I'm doing this and you can't stop me, right. Or if he is just genuinely better than everyone else who's making these movies. But like, he does things in these movies that I wish other movies would do, and not to like replicate, because I feel like that's what happened. Guardians of the Galaxy came out, and the MCU was like, oh, people like when we make a lot of jokes. Mm-hmm. But like, that shouldn't be the takeaway. The takeaway should be like, hey, be true to the vision, do something interesting, because it's not just jokes. Because he's able to do jokes while also having like very serious moments and very serious characters, and have very jokes,
serious issues. Yeah.
But then on top of that, it's like the cinematography is so interesting and cool. And he's able to do this within like a CG world that most of the time you see these CG nightmares and you're just like, Jesus Christ. But you can tell like James Gunn kind of thrives in these CG worlds, where he's like, oh, it's CG. Well, we're going to get really fucking weird with it. We're going to have the camera go through the whole of this man. We're going to have the camera do a total 180 because because it's fucking fake and we can do weird shit.
Yeah.
And he's done that for like all of his movies. He did it in Suicide Squad. Like, it's like such an interestingly shot movie. Peacemaker is like so interesting in how it's made. Guardians 2, I think, is super different and weird for an MCU movie as well, where it's like super bright and colorful, and the worlds are just like vibrant and weird. And Guardians 1 feels like the most like gray and like in the MCU, so maybe he had to prove himself with that one. I don't know, but even that one, it's like it's more jokey and funny than the others. So I don't know. And all that being said, like, I'm so excited to see what this man has to do with DC, because everything he releases is fucking great.
He could make me care about DC,
right? Like, I'm sure we're gonna go see his Superman movie. Like,
oh yeah, probably.
And honestly, seeing the way he shot Adam Warlock, like the cool shots where it's like on his face and then it sort of scopes out and like zooms in on the side of him and like kind of moves around, it's like, oh, dude, that's going to be sweet when he does that with Superman. You know? Like, the way he did flying shots was really cool.
No, yeah, it was the cinematography in this movie was really good for it being all CG.
On top of that, like the CG worlds just make a lot of sense. I was actually talking to my sister, who is not a film buff. She doesn't care about movies at all. And she went and saw this movie yesterday with her kids. And she saw Ant-Man as well, because her kids are like super into Marvel, so she's now all caught up with the Marvel stuff. And she was like, it was weird watching this movie because it made sense where Ant-Man just felt like nonsense. And I'm like, it's funny you say that, because I feel the exact same. Ant-Man worlds felt like nonsense. There's nothing around. What is that in the distance? I have no fucking clue. But then in this movie, it's like, oh, the ship makes sense. I know where they are on the ship, and like, you see distant space and stuff, but you're like, oh, there's like a planet over there. There's this. It just made sense. Nowhere made sense. You look at Nowhere and you're like, this is an actual like small hideout town. Like, this makes sense. I can see where everyone goes, and like,
and how it works, and
When you get to the bar in Ant-Man, right? You're like, where is this bar?
Where did this come from?
This just feels like a set that you're shooting in, and if you leave it, if you walk out of this bar, it is just fucking a Hollywood set. You're like, where the fuck is this?
Yeah. You'll walk out into the desert.
Yeah.
where everything's just cardboard around.
Where like in Nowhere, you walk and you're like, oh, if I walk this way, there's probably some apartments over there. You know, there's like, it's like it made sense. And this is like the town square, like it, yeah.
Even that like brain thing that they,
the ball sack
thing that they have to break into that looks like an asshole, and then they got like the jiggly guys. It was like, how is this? This is gonna be so dumb. But then they like get inside, and it's like got hallways, and it's like a whole freaking thing, and you're like, oh, this is like where people live and where they work, and this is their job, and like you get the sense of what it is.
It reminded me of Mass Effect, like the Citadel in Mass Effect.
Kind of, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's like, oh, it's just going to be all jelly and look terrible and whatnot. I thought for sure it was not going to be a good place, but I actually enjoyed that area quite a bit. As like plain Jane as it was, and the whole aesthetic was all the same. They had that like lobby that was bright and white and corporate, and it's like, oh, this is kind of interesting. Yeah. It was good.
Did you know the red chick, that they hold hostage or whatever? That is Ratcatcher 2.
Is it really?
Yeah, that's the girl who played Ratcatcher.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
I found catch that.
Yeah, I found that out later. I was like, oh, hey, that's cool. That's cool. And then Harcourt was in it. James Gunn's wife. She's the one who gets shot in the leg. Fun fact, also, the ugly creature that Mantis saves, and she's like, oh, I wasn't screaming about you. You look really cool. The voice actor of that was Pete Davidson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of fun little cameos. We had the Nathan Fillion, who shows up in everything that James Gunn does as well. And of course, Yondu showed up again at the end, and it was cool to see him again. Yeah, even them, while they had limited screen time, Kraglin and Cosmo were like fun characters. I was like, I like these characters.
Yeah.
I'd be into seeing them again if they did another Guardians movie, but yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen or not.
It would be kind of cool to see Rocket with Adam Warlock and Kraglin and Cosmo.
And the girl.
Yeah, whoever that was.
Who is the little girl in Guardians?
Vila Vel.
Yeah.
Vila
Vel. Yeah. I think she's in the game too. She's a big part of the game.
The character has also been known as Quasar. So
yeah. I'd be into another Guardians.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of different directions they could go. They're doing something with Star-Lord. They could make another Guardians movie. They could call it like Guardians of the Galaxy, the new batch or whatever. Next generation.
Yeah. That would be funny.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy, the next generation.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty funny.
They could do that. Obviously, it'd have to be a new director. They could do like a Gamora movie, like a Ravagers movie. I don't know if they will. But yeah, there's just a lot of different directions. They could do a Mantis like show. I think could be cool. Just seeing Mantis doing stuff with her weird pets.
To see like a Mantis Drax show. Or movie even.
Yeah. I feel like that's what the holiday special was.
Yeah, that's true. You're right.
Yeah. I have a feeling we're not going to see Drax again. It just seems like Dave Bautista doesn't want to do it. Of everyone, he seems like the one that's like, I'm out the most. He was the one who fought the hardest against Disney to bring James Gunn back. And I have this feeling he might have burned some bridges when that happened. So I have this feeling he's not going to come back. But I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these people came over to the James Gunn DC universe as well.
I could see that. I could see that for sure.
I saw some people saying the lady who plays Mantis could be a good Starfire which is kind of interesting. And like,
that is interesting.
I think that's kind of fun. Obviously, people are saying Chris Pratt should play Booster Gold. I don't want that to happen, but it's probably going to happen. And then there's been a few different people for Batista. People have said Bane.
I could see Bane.
And then some people even said Batman. I don't know.
That's weird. I don't know about Batman.
That'd be a weird one. I mean, it could be interesting, just like a real beefy Batman.
Yeah.
He could do it, I guess. It's just, I don't know if that's what I imagine Batman being, but yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm excited for DC, man. Anyway, You got any final thoughts on this?
No, not really. I think it's a good movie and everybody should go see it.
I want to talk about the cute little animals and like how intense this movie was as well, I guess.
Okay.
I think for a Disney movie, this is like far more, like probably the most intense MCU movie. You think that's out of line? You think that's...
I don't know. Endgame was pretty, or not Endgame, Infinity War was pretty intense.
Yeah,
but this one deals with a lot of dark shit.
It felt like Endgame felt like, because you know those people are coming back. You know, you're like, I know they're coming back. It didn't hit as hard as this one, where like there's cute little animals being abused. Most of that does take place off screen, but just seeing the aftermath of that is like pretty intense. Seeing the cute animals like die and then he's just surrounded by their death. There's also a scene like at the beginning where Adam Warlock shoots Rocket in the chest and there's just a pool of blood on his chest. And you're like, whoa.
It's intensely violent, like the way he's dying. That makes you real sad. And it happens really early too. Like, it's crazy. Yeah,
like right at the beginning of the movie. Rocket is sort of the MacGuffin of this movie.
Oh yeah.
And then also just like the scene where he's scratching his face and then seeing the aftermath of his face. It's pretty intense stuff. And then also the way Peter kills that guy, the guy who had the key, that was pretty fucking intense. It's like, Jesus Christ.
It's true.
I mean, nothing compares to that scene in the first Captain America where he pushes the dude into the propeller. That was pretty baller. But you remember that scene?
I don't.
There's a scene in the first Captain America. They're fighting on an airplane, and he pushes one of the enemies into a propeller, and he just turns into a mist.
Yeah, I do remember that.
That scene's pretty intense, but I don't know. And just like the themes of this movie are also very dark.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The only theme I can think of that's like close to as dark as this is maybe Black Widow, when it's dealing with like trafficking of children. Because this is also dealing with that. But I just feel like it's easy to sympathize with the animals, and also like it's a very real thing, and sort of I don't know, it makes you question a lot about yourself too, because you're like, this is how they treat animals to test drugs, like for real. This is how they treat animals to get our food, for real. Like, we do treat animals this way, so it's like a very real thing. Yeah. So I don't know. It's pretty. I mean,
there's a lot. Up. There's a lot in this movie, and I don't think we can go over all of it because it'll just keep popping up like new questions and stuff, you know. Yeah. But yeah, we should rank this though.
And also, I don't know, and it has child trafficking in it as well, you know. He's like,
it's got a lot of shit. It's got child trafficking. It's got like, you know, it's got an end of the world sort of situation, but you don't really care about that a whole lot because you don't spend time with the characters. But a whole world does blow up.
And you see a couple of them, like one holding a baby just explodes, and you're like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. It's an intense movie.
Well, and a guy like, you know, Adam Warlock turns a dude into dust, and it's like a comedic moment. True. But like, I was like, damn, that's pretty intense.
and his pet is like a thing that is around, the guy who dies has a pet, and it's like, fuck, that's really sad.
Yeah.
So,
and also the first ever MCU movie with an F-bomb.
Really? It's the first one, huh?
That's the first F word.
What a weird choice.
Yeah.
Get in the fucking car.
Yeah, get in the fucking car. So I heard James Gunn talk about it, and he said that originally there was an F word in one of the Russo brothers. It was one of them. I don't know, one of the Captain Americas or the Avengers movies.
Gotcha.
And Kevin Feige told him, like, they didn't do it because they didn't want that to be their legacy. And he's like, are you sure you want this to be your legacy? And James Gunn is like, you're just making me want to do it even more. Yeah. Come on. And apparently that line was improvised. Oftentimes James Gunn has a mic and he has the actors wear earpieces, and he's like, hey, try this line. And they tried it, and they just thought it was so funny that they decided to keep it in the movie. So
nice.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
First ever F-bomb in the MCU. Maybe the last.
I'll take it. It's pretty good.
I guess Deadpool's coming, so that's going to be the MCU. Yeah, so
that's true. All right, let's rank this.
Yes.
I got other shit to do.
All right. Okay. Do we rank it in A, B, C, or D?
It's definitely in an A.
I agree.
Definitely A tier.
Okay, so in A, at number 1, we've got Avengers Endgame. Number 2, Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings. Number 3, Loki. Number 4, Iron Man. Number 5, Avengers Infinity War. Number 6, Spider-Man No Way Home. Number 7, Thor Ragnarok. Number 8, Guardians of the Galaxy. Number 9, WandaVision. At number 10, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Where would you rank it within the A tier?
Within the A tier, I would put it right underneath Shang-Chi, I believe.
I'm right there with you.
Are you really?
I'm like so torn on it being above or below it.
See, the thing I think about Shang-Chi is it has more practical things. The sets, I believe, for me, are better in this than the sets in Guardians of the Galaxy. Like I like the practical elements of Shang-Chi a lot more.
The action is so cool.
Yeah, the spaces they go to, the areas where they fight in, the grounded nature of it. I really like that a lot. Where this is a space romp, and it's got to be in space, and so I think that's the one thing that's holding it back from being above it. If I could, they would be like right next to each other because it's different.
Yeah,
they're the same, but they're different, and we got to put them somewhere.
To me, they're equal. Yeah, I think they're really both fucking great. And honestly, Endgame is like, it's so biased, but I just love Endgame so much. So okay, yeah, let's do it.
Do it.
Guardians. We did it. There it is. I'll just do that for now.
All right.
So yeah, that's our rankings. One day we'll come back. We'll re-rank all of these and put them into the proper tiers.
God. Re-rank them?
We could do an entire show just of re-ranking.
I mean, yeah, but not changing anything on it.
Yeah.
The only one that I'm rethinking about changing is Loki season 1. That's it.
Just bringing
the only one that
bringing it down a little. Yeah.
It might not be as good as I remember it.
I agree.
I have. So.
This is still such a wild list.
It is. It's fucking bizarre, crazy. My ranking is not close to this, except for a couple of things here and there.
Yeah, me either. They're all in this general vicinity, but
it's for the most part,
it's pretty different. Anyway,
all right,
that's the show.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Check us out on YouTube at Loadercast. Check us out on Twitter. Check us. Fucking just find us. We're here. If you're watching this, you know all the avenues. Just find us and follow us along, or
watch us on Spotify, dude. It's so easy. Just look up Loadercast.
Spotify's easy. Loadercast on Spotify.
Find it. You'll find it. It's right there.
Easy. Just talk with us. That's what we need.
And while you're on Spotify, just look up Last Week in Games. It's right there, baby.
It's right there.
Look it up
every week.
It's the best.
So it's one of those things you could fill your life with if you've got nothing else to do.
And let me tell you,
in the background.
Let me tell you right now, we're the first people on YouTube to ever talk about Guardians of the Galaxy.
That is true.
No one's done it.
No, yeah. Anybody that's done it is copying us.
They're copying us.
So we're the first ones.
Yeah.
Pioneers. We are the pioneers of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Everyone else, fucking losers.
Well,
idiots.
They're the biggest form of flattery is mimicry.
True.
So, they're flattering us is all they're doing. That's that. All right. See you guys later. Peace.